Coca-Cola, Pfizer, Eurex. All of these have their own brands and identities, to the point of where all I had to do was mention them and certain things just popped into your head. A reputation can make or break. It is that unspoken currency in our modern society. And martial arts are no exception, as today we're going to be taking a look at the reputation that forms around particular martial arts, how it forms, why it forms, and what we can do with that information. Let's take a look. This is a video topic that's piggybacking off of when I talked about modern vs traditional martial arts, so we'll go through some bullet points from that video to get us caught up a little bit. First of all, our discussion goes back to the Enlightenment, as society moved from movements of religion to science. Our society became more reliant on empirical thought rather than spiritual thought. Before this, when it came to martial arts, all you really needed to know was how to throw a good punch and that would get you by. Maybe you would learn some wrestling here or there, unless you were in the military. But the game has changed since then. Now the movement is evolving, and far more commercial than it ever was before. And with the breadth of information available to us, it is evolving faster than ever before. And with that means that its reputation is also evolving very quickly, with one of the main forms of this being media influence. As we went over last time, more modern martial arts such as MMA, such as Muay Thai, boxing, BJJ, and what I didn't mention last time, but Judo, they're able to stand apart with more empirical bias around them, because they have continual pressure testing, and not to mention because there is a commercial element and a paying element to many of these martial arts. It also means that the best of the best more often come to the top, as that is what's more likely to have people pay for. But how is a reputation formed to begin with? Commonly it is thought to be derived from three key factors: by communication, trust, and character. And in a larger sense, an identity. Brands know of this all the time, creating an identity around their product in order to better integrate with particular markets. Take for instance one we mentioned earlier, Coca-Cola. When I mention that particular brand, what comes into mind? One thing, as it's the time of year, would be the Christmas advert, which plays every season. Or the polar bear advert. These have become fixtures of the Christmas season. And with that comes the idea that Coca-Cola is a fixture. It is reliable, it is a standard. You get a bottle of Coca-Cola and you know what you are getting. It feels more reliable and secure. Take that in comparison to its rival, Pepsi. Pepsi is one of evolution, continually changing and rebranding to better fit with its younger market. One appeals to an older market and one appeals to younger. And so around this forms a reputation based on the quality of its product and the communication of these ideas. But negative factors can also impact one's reputation, and we'll get onto that in a bit. Adam Smith discussed the idea of a good reputation as being integral to our society, claiming that we crave a good reputation over material gain. No matter how much material gain you can acquire within this life, your reputation will carry with you even to death. And that is because the reputation that you acquire is a reflection of your story, of who you are, of your identity. Unlike material gains, which really only last as long as you do. I mean, take for example medieval kings for example. How many jokes do history buffs make about King John and the Magna Carta? Well, how many wives Henry VIII had? Whew. Last I heard it was a dozen. But what does this have to do with martial arts? Well, this same track is very true of martial arts as well, and especially because a martial art is more than just one person or one master. So you can imagine how much more the reputation matters. If, say for instance, you have one martial arts teacher that has one student at a time, and then the quality of the students that they build are great. So, after that master passes away, you have all of these students, let's say 10 students, and they're all this high quality number, and they all start teaching. Soon, you will have a high reputation of a great martial art built by this one great master. And that is the reputation that is built off of good actions and a good identity. But this can have a negative side as well. If, for instance, you have a negative perception around a martial art, that can carry with you as well. All it could easily take is one master getting easily humiliated by another master of a different martial art, and soon that martial art becomes a laughingstock. But we'll get more into that later. So overall, we have how a reputation is built, and what reputation relies upon. How a reputation can be reflective of a brand or an identity, as well as how it is more important than anything material. But something like martial arts is very different from a person. A martial art is an art form after all, and so it requires evolution, adaptation. And how does the adaptation process affect a martial art? Quite a lot, as it turns out. Because adaptation can oftentimes mean that a particular thing can then be brought out to a wider, broader demographic. I mean, we could just take examples of something we've mentioned already. Judo. Judo, if you look at it, is an adaptation of Japanese jiu-jitsu. All it took was for one person to look at the techniques of jiu-jitsu during the time of when he was being taught it, find that there were gaps in it, look to other sources, adapt it to fit better with his body type, and soon he had a martial art which was more accessible to many different people. And in fact, he made it far more successful than Japanese jiu-jitsu because it was not tied to any specific political ideology or religious doctrine, and so it could easily be flexible within any political climate, making it far more accessible. And what do you know, judo is an Olympic martial art. Go figure. I mean, let's compare this, for example, to book adaptations. Look at the Harry Potter films, for example. It's arguable that the Harry Potter series would not be the level of fame it is now without the films. I mean, certainly the books have their fans on their own. Before the films came out, the books easily had their own fan base. I wouldn't know, I wasn't alive back then. But is it arguable that Harry Potter would be looked at in the widespread way it is without the films? I don't think there would be a theme park, merchandise, various sweet products, various channels that have been made and broken by the system of Harry Potter, blimey. Point being that the adaptation process between book and film is what made the story of Harry Potter and the timeless themes it portrays more accessible to people across the world. Far more so than the books were, although the books did a great job on their own. And this is the same sort of thing that MMA does. It makes certain martial arts, such as BJJ, such as Taekwondo, such as kickboxing, more accessible to people on a commercial level, so they're more likely to practice it on a personal level. And with that comes good reputation because it has already been proven to work in a combat situation within the octagon. But I think you and I know we are missing a certain part of the reputation process. Gossip. If there's any way to make or break a reputation, it is via gossip, especially a negative reputation. Gossip is not just something that was invented by housewives in the 50s, it is more of an evolved trait. Gossip is a shorthand opinion for us to view context through. The human brain only can contain so much information, and we can only perceive so many things. As such, we need shorthand in order to build a better understanding of the world around us, of certain people, certain places. We hear gossip about a certain part of town, that it's not a good place, so we don't go there. Better survival instincts.
No, on second thoughts, let's not go to Camelot. It is a silly place.
And so the more we hear about a certain thing, the more of a clear understanding we have of it, or a clearer picture we have. If, say, for instance, you have 10 people who'd say that karate is the worst martial art they've ever practiced, and then only one person said it's good, you're more likely to believe the 10 people than you are about the one. And this is especially bad for traditional martial arts, which unfortunately seem to not stack up very well in the modern climate. For reasons. How many videos have you seen circulate these days of kung fu masters falling on their asses and being humiliated by amateur MMA fighters? Or how many times have you just simply heard about it? And so it becomes audio shorthand. Kung fu, not good. And so as such, less people are likely to practice it, and so extinction time. But our methods of informative shorthand have evolved over time. Gossip is not now the only method. Take, for instance, films as another example of this shorthand of information. This is how most martial arts were made or broken before the internet came along. It was protagonists going through journeys, learning these martial arts, showcasing them in action, which made us want to practice them all the more. Before we had the internet, we had Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence. We had Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. These were the people that we wanted to be, and so we learned their martial arts. And the 80s were a good time. Did not exist. But that's where everything has changed due to MMA and the internet. With the invention of these things, information has become more instantaneous and much faster than ever before, as well as shortened in terms of attention spans. As such, the gossip stream has shortened to such a length that we only need 1 minute of footage in order to form an entire opinion about a martial art. The wide umbrella of information that could be, say, karate or kung fu is shortened to a minute of footage, and this can seriously make or break the reputation of a martial art. And so to an average person, all that will be needed to see to make or break, say, kung fu as an example, is if a great MMA practitioner performs a legendary knockout using a kung fu technique. Or to see a kung fu master get humiliated and knocked down within 2 seconds. Either of these being seen will make or break the reputation of martial arts. And so where once a reputation was made over years and decades of repeated exposure to particular ideas, identities, and communicative ideas, whereas now it only takes the layman 1 minute to make or break an opinion. So what do we do then with this information? What do we do with that 1 minute that we'll potentially have to showcase our martial arts as the best it can be? To showcase ourselves as the best it can be, whether in conversation or in terms of martial arts. That's the same rule that is true of YouTube videos. YouTube analytics commonly say that the first 5 minutes is what it takes to make or break a video. And in this context, it's now gone down probably to 30 seconds. 30 seconds is all that it takes for a person to make or break their decision on whether or not they will watch a video. And so say for instance when you meet a new person, then you have 30 seconds in which to make a good first impression. Or in the first 30 seconds of this video, for example, we make the best first impression we can with our first 30 seconds. Or, if we want to showcase martial arts, then we make sure the first 30 seconds of that martial art that that person sees is the best it can be. The best technique, the best knockout, you name it. I think as any person knows, that first minute or 30 seconds is only scratching the surface in terms of the information available to us, whether on the internet or in life. And 1 minute's worth of opinions, well, that doesn't really do much. So let me hear your opinions, therefore, down below in the comments. What do you make of this? What reputations have you heard about particular martial arts? And until next time, thank you for watching, and peace be with you.